So this is an introduction to Chapter 3, Section 1. And up here at the introduction, remember, have out pen, pencil, highlighter. If you're looking at this on the ebook, then definitely use the features there to highlight, underline, and capitalize on the information shared in this video. And also, however you're keeping up with vocabulary, either through index cards or paper or an electronic document, we're going to keep adding to that. I have a little bit underlined that says, this chapter shows. This chapter shows the statistical methods that can be used to summarize. And I put that in highlighter because this whole chapter we're going to be talking about how to summarize data. The most familiar of these methods is finding the averages. We're going to jump down to here, average. When you stop to think of it, it's a really funny concept. Although it describes all of us, it describes none of us. While none of us want to be the average American, we all want to know about him or her. It gives some examples, but I want to keep going where it says, loosely stated, the average means the center of the distribution or the most typical case. We're always searching for it. Measures of average are also called measures of central tendency and include mean, median, mode, and mid-range. So these words here, I would go ahead and start a space in my document or on my index card. I would have 4 index cards. You're going to need one for mean, one for median, one for mode, and one for mid-range. I'm going to the top of the next page, and it says, as this example shows, in addition to knowing the average, you must know how the data values are dispersed. Now we're going to read through a whole lot of stuff in this set of paragraphs that you don't need to know right now, but I like to go ahead and read them. If we were in class together, we'd be jumping all around the room and everybody reading different parts and pieces, and I would be stopping you, and anyway, we would start back, we would talk about stuff. You get to hear me. As this example shows, in addition to knowing the average, you must know how the data values are dispersed. That is, do the data values cluster, that's a really good word to throw in your vocabulary, around the average, or are they spread more evenly throughout the distribution? The measures that determine the spread of the data values are called, these are ones you don't have to write down right now, measures of variation or measures of dispersion. These measures include range, variance, and standard deviation. Again, you don't have to write them down today. Finally, another set of measures is necessary to describe data. These measures are called measures of position. They tell where a specific data value falls within the data set or its relative position in comparison with the other data values. The most common position measures are, and you don't have to write these down, percentiles, deciles, and quartiles. These measures are used extensively in psychology and education, and sometimes they are referred to as norms. Remember when I started this video, the first thing that we had underlined and actually highlighted was talking about we're going to summarize data. These are some ways we're going to do that. The measures of central tendency, variation, and position explained in this chapter are part of what is called traditional statistics. Section 3.4 shows the techniques of what is called exploratory data analysis, and these techniques include a thing called a box plot and the 5-number summary. They can be used to explore data to see what they show as opposed to the traditional techniques which are used to confirm conjectures about the data. So here we go. You heard measures of variation, measures of position, but then you also heard measures of central tendency. That's us. That's what you got to make sure you're writing down. Moving on down this page where it says measures. Measures found by using all the data values in the, and notice I circled the first letter of each of these words. If we're talking about a population, it's going to be called a parameter. And I remember because they start with the same letter. Measures obtained by using the data values from samples are called statistics. So population, we'll call them parameters. Samples, we call them statistics. You do need to know these 4 words. Hence, the average of the sales from a sample of representatives is a statistic, and the average sales obtained from an entire population is called a parameter. It says it again here in green. A sample is a characteristic or measure by using what's from a sample and did I say statistic or sample? Statistic, blah, 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 sample. A parameter is a characteristic obtained by using blah, blah, blah from a population. Down here, we've got to talk about a general rounding rule. You're going to have a lot of rounding rules, and I will try to help you on the test and give you information, but this is to help cut out frustration like in the homework, cut out frustration while you're doing the assignments in here. So a general rounding rule. I'll read some of it, but remember, I'm not reading everything. I expect that you're going back through and filling in the blanks to get the bigger picture, or a more filled in picture. I'm giving you the big picture. In statistics, the basic rounding rule is that when computations are done in the calculation, rounding should not, maybe I need to highlight that one too, rounding should not be done until the final answer. And so when you're done, you're at the very, 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 very end, then you get to round. Hence, the values in these examples are carried out enough places, usually 3 or 4, to obtain the same answer the calculator would give after rounding on the last step. We'll usually round to 2, maybe 1, 2, or 3 decimal places. And if you really want to write your calculations down and then write it down and write it down, then you really need to go out to at least 4, maybe 5 or 6 places, and that will keep you accurate. You're now going to listen to a video from the book about how to calculate mean.